Hello again to everyone out in podcast land. I am your host, Rob Kosick of Money Talks with
The Health Whisperer.
Thank you. Today's topic is Social Security. The main theme that we wish to cover is how do I maximize benefits? If you're over 55 years of age, this topic is for you. If you are interested in the fate of our republic as Social Security gets closer and closer to bankruptcy, I imagine we'll have some information for you also. My guest today is a repeat guest. This young gentleman has spent the last 15 years of his life learning every aspect of the financial world while also getting married and having a couple of kids. And I have watched him educate himself in great depth on the topic we are covering today. Matt Ringle has an MBA in investments as a CFP and is the managing partner of a $600 million wealth management firm, DLAC Wealth Advisors. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate being back on the podcast here.
All right. Well, it is great to have you, as I noted. So why don't we jump right in?
Let's do it.
Yep. I'm sure this is a topic I know myself cover weekly, if not, and certainly hundreds of times a year.
Yes.
There's a certain level of analysis that we have to do and tools that we've built over the years. But let's start very simplistically. I'm sitting in the audience here today. I'm going, Social Security, that's interesting. I remember. I used to get a statement sent to me. What gives? I don't get those anymore.
Yeah. So as we find in the rest of our lives, everything's trying to move more towards the electronic world. So they have quit sending Social Security statements except for one time. So once you turn 60, you get your initial Social Security statement. And then after that, no more physical forms in the mail. It's all going to come online.
Even for those over 60?
Even for those over 60.
Okay, so just a one-time event.
One-time event, yep.
All right, so one thing that I noticed, I guess, since we're on the topic, is I used to have an SSA.gov login, and then I recently went in something's different. What's different?
So they've changed it. They're trying to make it a little bit more secure. They've put in place a couple of different third-party authentication systems that are there, and so they want you to go in and apply for what they call login.inid, I think is.
So if I already had an account, I need to.
Yes, you'll have to go back in and set that back up before you can log in again into your account.
And this is pretty recent, no?
Pretty recent, yeah. I think the idea was for them to combine it to not only be able to see Social Security, but if you're a government employee, to be able to see other parts of your government benefits. But for this conversation, for Social Security purposes, yes, you would have to go back in and create that username.
Okay. Well, I can tell the audience when I went back in, well, I had set it up the first time. You all may remember who have an SSA.gov account that it could take 15 minutes. And you're going to have to pass a test that's harder than most college exams in terms of trying to remember when you were 17 years old, who was your car loan with.
It was like a memory test at the doctor's office, right?
It was good. It was good to see. It was did not take nearly as long this time. All right. So the first subset of potentially interested eyeballs watching and ears listening to our podcast today, as I noted, those 55 years of older. All right, 55, I'm 60. Let's say I'm 61. I've made the decision. I'm going to move forward. How do I sign up? And what is the process from a timing standpoint and the process?
From a timing standpoint, let's start there. So full retirement age now for individuals is 67. So it used to go all the way back to 62, and over time it's crept up. But anyone that, and I forget the specific date, but now the full retirement age that the Social Security office has is 67.
Okay.
You can actually take benefits early if you're willing to reduce your benefit at 62. So you could technically start Social Security at 62, but that's going to bring about a reduced benefit. You also then have the option to delay till 70, which brings about an increase in your benefit every year that you decide to delay that benefit. Now, as far as actually going in and signing up for the benefits, you have three options. You can go online to the SSA.gov website and you can do it yourself online. You can call the Social Security office at their 1-800 number. Probably a daunting task to do that. Or you
Sure, it'll be easy to get through, right?
Well, yeah, they don't have any wait times there in the Social Security office. So, or your third option is to the old-fashioned way, get in your car and drive over to your local branch and sign up with someone there in the office.
Okay. I'll be honest, though. In my past 15 years, most interactions that I've been privy of, and what I mean by that is feedback that I've received from individuals, is that Social Security is doing a pretty good job of helping people, providing factual information and helping them make decisions if ultimately that's one of the resources that you're using for information.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. Not 100%, but getting pretty good, I would say. Good.
Timing. Say, you know what? My FRA, what does it stands for? Full retirement age is say it's 67. I'm going to be 67 in 6 months. Timing. When am I doing one of those three options and signing up?
So you can really go in any time and actually pick the date of which your benefits will start.
Okay.
So you could go in 3 months early and tell them, hey, I don't want to actually start my benefits until I turn 67.
Okay.
I actually encourage that because when you talk to individuals or if you've been through the process yourself, you know it takes a couple of months for your benefits actually to start. Yep. So if you're like, hey, I want to take it at 67, I would encourage you to go in a couple months early or go online and put that date in that you want to start. That way they can begin the process of putting everything together to get you your benefit at full retirement age.
All right, good. Great information. All right. What determines how much my benefit is?
Yes. So what determines your benefit amount is based upon the average monthly indexed income you've earned over the last 35 working years of your career.
Should we have everybody get their calculator out?
We won't do that today because it's a very complex calculation, how they come about the actual number.
Okay.
But that is the terminology they would use to say, how do we determine it?
Okay. Is there a max that one could?
There is a maximum Social Security amount. Off the top of my head, I'll have to be honest, I don't know that for 2025.
Okay. How does it get funded? How does Social Security get funded? So we'll start there. A basic question. How does it get funded?
Yeah, so it gets funded through taxpayer dollars. So.
Okay. If I'm a high income earner, is every last dime taxed for Social Security?
It is not. So for Social Security purposes, there is a cap. I think it's in the 170 to 190 range of income. Once you cross over that point, you actually stop paying into Social Security as a taxpayer in order to fund the system itself.
We're starting already in this discussion to talk about things that you're going to want to keep in mind, especially as a couple. We did a podcast recently on Medicare, and we kept bringing home the point that's an individualized. I call Social Security a couple benefit. Okay. So to what the question I just asked and the answer that I just got, if I have the ability to legally manipulate income of my family, let's say as a small business owner, or whatever the family situation happens to be, is if you have one individual making or the ability to make far in excess of that 190 figure, and you have a spouse that you could personally choose how much they would make, and if for some reason that person will be hard fought to ever get to the half, and the half that I'm speaking of is, when you're a married couple, and if you were the historic lower income earner of the two, they're going to evaluate the Social Security office whether your benefit or half of your spouse's is going to be higher. So something that I'll speak to with people is if the lower income earning spouse is going to probably their benefit be less than half, it's really going to behoove to put more income in the higher income. So say you have a family business and you're saying, how much am I going to pay me? How much am I going to pay my spouse? There's going to be a way there that you could sort of figure out, okay, how do I do this where actually my FICA is going to be significantly less by putting more of the income into one person's names. These are some of the complexities that help you work through how you max it.
And I was just going to add something on top of that, Rob. I quite frequently see it with individual business owners that own their own business. I've met and talked to some of their accountants, and they're big fans of having much more of their income come as business distributions rather than payroll. If you don't have payroll income, you're not paying into the FICA tax for Social Security. So just be aware, if you're trying to, keep your income down from a payroll tax perspective, just be aware your Social Security benefits also taking a hit on that too.
So in terms of what Matthew was saying is if you're a small business owner, you have two components of your income. One is your W-2 income. Your W-2 income is what you're paying into FICA. Your distributions, you're avoiding the FICA. But the downside to that is I see many well-to-do former small business owners with very small Social Securities, yet they made a lot of money along the way. So that's something that with most accountants, as Matt said, most of them are big proponents of trying to take as little in W-2 as possible. Realize there is actually a downside.
Yep. Just means a little bit more personal savings that you have to do for retirement.
Yeah. Is there a minimum benefit? I don't know. I mean, do you have to have certain quarters? Well, do you have to become eligible for Social Security? Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so you do have to become eligible. You have to qualify for 40 credits.
Okay.
Is what it is. And so that's 10 years of work because you get a credit for every full quarter that you work. So if you work a full 10 years, you get the 40 quarters, you're technically eligible for Social Security. But just remember, they are taking the last 35 years of work into the calculation effect. So if you've only worked for 10 years, while you do qualify for Social Security, your benefit wouldn't be as high as someone that obviously works for 35 years.
Okay. Matt has so much knowledge that he actually went straight over something that's incredibly important. Is Social Security is determined by your highest 35 years of income. So if you have significantly more and you're wondering, can you juice at the end? You're only juicing at the end is if you're making more, if not significantly more, than your best other 35 years. If you want to retire at 50, 55, as many people may, well, how many years do you have into Social Security? Maybe you only have 20 years. Well, what that means is your other 15 years are zero. Okay, so you'll have, in that instance, your 20, 25 years example, let 20 years of income and 15 of zeros to figure out your mathematical or average income.
Which is a great point because some people will bring up, should I even work in retirement? Will it reduce my Social Security? It won't go down because, as you said, it's the 35 highest years.
All right. I have an old statement physically, or I went to SSA.gov and I reviewed my statement and it's telling my future benefit. How reliable is that? Is what is known as COLA, cost of living adjustment, something which takes into account inflation? Is that figured in? Is that number definitive? If I never worked again, is that going to be my number? Or is it going to be higher because there's potentially going to be inflation over? And so my benefit that they're quoting to me, fortunately, I'll be getting more because any CPI, so if it's 10 years from now, I could have 10 years of CPI and it's 2.5 per year and it compounds. So maybe 30% higher if I've already at my 35 best years.
So complicated question. I'll unpack it here a little bit. The statement that you're getting and the projections that you're seeing on the statement do not include any future COLA adjustments.
Okay.
So that is as of today, based upon your working record as of today.
All right.
So that does not include anything else. So as we've already talked about, if you continue to work and your income is higher than your highest previous 35 years, your benefit will go up versus what it was on the statement. The actual statement itself, what it's showing is it's showing your full retirement benefit as of today with your 35-year record, and then it's just simply projecting to 70 and projecting to 62. So what do I mean by that? If you wait and don't take your benefit at 67 and you wait till 70, you get an 8% increase every year that you delay your benefit. Calculation's not as easy to go from 67 down to 62. There is a reduction. It ends up being somewhere in the ballpark of about a 5 to 6% reduction every year down to 62. So that is all your statement is showing. It's not taking into account future COLA. It's not taking into account future earnings. The statement is just showing as of today, and then with those adjustments made going to 70 or down to 62.
All right. If we're going to help people try to maximize their benefit, we'll talk more about that later in today's discussion. What happens if I become disabled? So here I am. I have this Social Security statement. It has these different categories: spousal, disability, etc. I'm 50 years old. I become disabled. Is Social Security something I can sign up for?
So there's actually something called Social Security Disability Insurance.
SSDI.
SSDI, you got it. So in order to qualify for Social Security Disability, you have to meet certain requirements. There are certain daily activities of living that you have to say, I can no longer do those things, eating or showering or, doing those types of activities. You have to qualify there first. And then what happens is once you qualify, you have to wait for the month that you qualify, and then there's an additional waiting period after that of 6 months.
Oh, okay.
And then once you've cleared that 7-month window, you're then accessible to SSDI, and you can go on SSDI and collect the benefit.
Do I get the 6 months?
They do backdate, and you do get that benefit, but you have to be on there for that point. Another thing to add, because I know that you were doing a Medicare podcast at some point too, Ralph, but once you've been on SSDI for 2 years or 24 months, you also do then qualify to become a participant in the Medicare program as well.
Okay. Like you said, another whole topic. So we can stay focused on Social Security today. All right. So I'm on SSDI. Do I transfer to traditional Social Security at some point?
You do. Once you hit full retirement age, well, actually, I take that back. It may be 62, but once you're eligible for your Social Security benefit, you will switch from SSDI to your regular Social Security record.
Okay. Understand to the audience, we may not have 100% accuracy on all these. I think it switches over at FRA full retirement age, but certainly I'm sure either of us, if we were not talking to you, we would be Googling this, and in 2 seconds we would know the actual definitive answer to that. Thank you. If my spouse passes away, when can I file for the benefit? And what are the different components to a spousal or family benefit?
Yes.
Based upon a survivor benefit.
A survivor benefit. So once again, complicated as most things are with Social Security, but how it works with the survivor benefit is if you were married and your spouse passes away, you yourself as the spouse have access to spousal benefits, actually from that day one. So you don't have to wait. And you don't have to wait if you have a child who is under the age of 16 and also can apply for their survivorship benefits. So there's two benefits here. The child has a benefit of Social Security, survivor benefit, and the spouse has a benefit of survivor. So
I think you're missing the big one. I see a lot of Dateline episodes based upon how do I get that $250?
Oh, yes. There technically is a death benefit.
You did forget that
there is technically a death benefit. But to answer your question more succinctly, if you are a spouse and you have a child that you're caring for that's under the age of 16, you are eligible to start taking the survivorship benefit right away.
Okay.
If you don't have a child, you have to wait until the age of 60 to be able to take the benefit.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're saying there's, as for survivors, so we're talking the Social Security recipient passes away, it's his or her benefit. There's a spousal and there's a dependent?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And that dependent benefit is as many children as you have. So each child is able to get a dependent benefit, as well as the spouse is able to get a spousal benefit. Now, there is a family maximum that you will hit, so it's not a free party for everybody. They're going to cut it off at some point, but usually that doesn't become an issue unless you have 2 to 3 children under the age of 16.
Okay. Yeah, hypothetical. I think in the past week I saw one where the child and the surviving spouse both were going to get like $2,500, but the max was like $5,800 or something. Something like that. Yeah. Once you get to 2 kids, you're gonna hit that max.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Since we're talking family now, file and suspend. What can you tell us what it used to be?
Yep.
Because everybody loved what it used to be.
Yeah. It was a really cool loophole that was out there that they actually closed back in, if I remember correctly, I think it was 2015 or 2017. But what the file and suspend loophole used to be is if you were one of the younger spouses, you could actually take your other spouse's benefit and go on their record and delay your own record until 70. So essentially you could take your spouse's benefit, juice your own benefit, and then switch from your spouse's benefit back to your personal benefit after you had gotten that 8% per year increase.
But you can't, as a spousal, can you take a spousal if your spouse is not taking Social Security?
You can. Yes, as long as your spouse is full retirement age, I do believe that you can take a spouse.
If they're full retirement.
They have to be full retirement age. Yes.
Okay. So I see. All right. So obviously there was an advantage. What now? That advantage, you guys used to.
The advantage is gone. Yeah, they passed a law. I can't remember the exact law. It was some Budget Fairness Act or something in 2015 or 2017, but they've done away with the loophole, and anyone that would have been grandfathered in is already past the age of 70 now.
Got it.
They would have already been taking their benefit.
Okay. Can you still file and suspend?
You can still file and suspend your own benefit.
Okay.
So you can file for your own, and then you can turn around and suspend that benefit.
All right. An example that I'd give the public would be there's a limitation prior to FRA. Once again, FRA is 67, but you're eligible to start taking a benefit as early as 62. There's a caveat to that. The caveat is there is an income limitation. This year, it's probably somewhere in the range of $22,500 that you are allowed to make and take Social Security prior to FRA. But if you make over it, every $2 you make above the limits, the government will take back $1 of your benefit. So that's something you got to be very careful of. So the example of file and suspend today could be, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to retire. 62, I'm taking my benefit, and then bam, I say, you know what? This was really boring. Mm-hmm. I have an opportunity out there where I can make a whole bunch of money. I'm going to go make a whole bunch of money. I can suspend my benefit?
You can suspend your benefit.
Okay.
And then you can refile later on after you decide to officially retire. Or once you hit full retirement age, it's important to note, you can make as much money as you want once you've hit full retirement age and still collect your full benefit without.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to be forced to retire even though I want to work over 67. There's not going to be a reduction in my benefit.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe yet.
Yeah, as of yet. That's the end, right? We got to
That's this area. We'll talk about that, later on. Okay. All right, Matt. Now we're going to get to what we promised the audience. We're going to talk about how to maximize the benefit. Should I take it at 62? Should I take it at 67? Should I take it at 70?
Let me just start off by saying, Robbie, that's a very personalized question. Okay. And that's what we do for our clients here is we go into depth, we go through their scenario, and we run a lot of different things, and we built tools to help us with that. So just on the baseline, that is a very personalized question to be able to answer it because it's going to vary widely depending upon your situation.
How does health matter?
Health plays a big factor too. And the reason is when you get into these situations talking about maximizing Social Security and the benefit thereof, there's some games that you can play.
Assumptions.
Yeah, there's some assumptions you can make and there's some games you can play. But at the end of the day, most of it comes back to where your thoughts are or your guesses are on how long you're going to live.
DNA.
So
you can make some logical decisions.
That's true.
I want to be honest. My personal experience in doing this for over 30 years is there's certain things financially that people allow emotions to outweigh logic or math. And as it pertains to Social Security, it's one of those, and I tell people I just get it.
Yeah.
So they can go through all the analysis and the statistics can come back and say it's going to be very much potentially beneficial if they do certain level of delaying. Mm-hmm. And feedback often is I paid into this thing for so many dark years. I want to get my money out, and I want my money out now. Yeah. All right. So let's stay with the math for a little bit. Okay. If I'm healthy, but I'm probably no healthy than the average person, and I look up and I see what life expectancy is, and that's probably what my family has done, and I'm thinking, based upon something outside of getting hit by a car, I'm probably going to be somewhere in that range. 62, 67, 70.
So really probably two things to consider. Obviously, there's the option of you both waiting till full retirement. The two that most often come up is should we have one spouse take it early while the other spouse waits till 70 and juices their return. So let's bring an example about, let's say we have one spouse who's maybe a couple years younger, who also has a smaller benefit on their record. Okay, let's say $10,000.
So we don't have to be that politically correct. I mean, in terms of my personal situation and loads of clients, it probably at least 25% of the time, one spouse is a good amount older than the other spouse. And it's often that the older spouse has earned more than the younger spouse. It's not every single time, but math matters.
Yeah, and that would be ideal for someone who's looking to do this one take early, one suspend till 70 type situation.
Okay, so that is a scenario. You have, as you just noted, one of the couple is older, if not significantly older, and the older one has a record of being the higher income earner.
Yeah, so when you look at that scenario, so let's say you have someone that's deciding to have one person take it at 62 and the other one take it at 67. versus one the younger take it at 62 and the older waiting till 70 who's earned more money. When you go and you actually plug in the numbers and look at the data, life expectancy somewhere around the early 80s. So if you expect that one, probably in this situation, the older individual passes early, sometime in their 80s, you're going to see that there's a crossover point where you actually would have been better to suspend the older person's benefit till 70.
Is the term suspend or just wait?
Or wait to take it.
Yep.
Wait to take it till 70 and have the younger, delay it till 70, or have the younger take it at 62. There's going to be a crossover point. And the crossover point usually comes somewhere in the early to mid 80s.
All right. And that is that just one of the two lives to that.
That's correct.
It's not that both have to, just one.
That's correct. As long as one of those spouses, one of them, lives past the age of about early to mid 80s.
I often see it's 81 or 82.
Around there. And you're going to get, probably over the next 10 to 15 years, if one spouse lives that long, you're probably going to see a benefit of about $250,000 more out of Social Security.
You told me that you saw that example within the last couple of weeks.
That's right.
So I think what you said to me is if one of the two within the couple lived till 90, in the example that you had, if they did 62 and 70 versus both taking it at 67, that they were better off by $250,000.
That's correct.
All right. On the flip side, I get the other feedback often. I want to take it right away, but you can't get that type of sizable differential. Is if you both pass away real early, then obviously the sooner you take it.
Yes.
The better. But that's one of the things that if you can afford to wait, there could be some benefit in doing it. And especially going to be advantageous for those who have good DNA and good genes.
Well, and to remember that point too, Rob, when the older person with the higher benefit delays, they get that 8% increase every year till 70. And it's important to mention if one of the spouses passes away in the future when you're both on your Social Security benefit, the survivor keeps the larger of the two benefits. So you do not keep your benefit, you keep the larger of the two.
That's why I've always called this, unlike Medicare, which is individualized, this is a couple benefit.
Absolutely.
Because, one of yours pass, you don't lose yours. You lose the smaller of the two. Awesome. All right. Now, Matthew, in a concise manner, can you explain what happens if Social Security runs out of money? What exactly does that mean? Before we go, when is it projected to run out?
They have projected 2035.
What does run out mean? Does it mean the benefits go to zero?
Well, and that's the term run out may be confusing because it's not really run out. So we have to remember Social Security is funded through taxpayer dollars. So as long as there is taxes, which probably will, that death and taxes, right? So as long as there's taxes,
which taxes are we talking about?
The FICA tax. We spoke to
very specific, that darn guy FICA.
Yeah, that darn guy FICA.
Yeah, we just got done in the last podcast talking about his wife, Irma.
Yes.
Oh, man, I just do not like that woman.
Between the two of them, they make quite the pair.
Oh, gosh.
So that's the point.
The pain in my ass.
Well, there you go. Well, as long as we have those occurring, as far as FICA is concerned, there will be some level of funding to the Social Security program.
Okay.
Right now, the estimate's about 2035. They threw out there that if it does run out as far as the reserves in Social Security, it would reduce benefits for everyone by down to about 83%, I think, of their current benefit. And then from there,
17% reduction.
17% reduction. And then from there, they're thinking reduce the benefit down, I think, by another 10%, somewhere in the low 70% range thereafter going forward.
Oh, just year one goes to that? And then by year two?
Yeah. And then they would start, And
okay.
Because what we know is that the population in the United States is getting older. There's more people filing for the benefit, and there's actually less people in the workforce paying into that benefit. So the thought would be over time that would continue to reduce.
The easiest way we can paint a picture with words is you have two pools. And one pool is all the people that are working and paying FICA. And the other pool is people that are not working and on Social Security and receiving a benefit. The room in this pool getting awfully crowded and less and less. So as this pool continues to expand and the new baby population is what the dynamic and situation is, this is not something that could, improve itself or fix itself anytime in the immediate future. So what does this mean? So we just had an election. through this election, we saw two candidates get up there and say they're going to, they may even use the word save Social Security, but they're not looking to save Social Security. What they're saying, they're not going to touch Social Security. Okay. Earlier today, Scott Bessent, the new Treasury Secretary, was speaking in front of Congress, or he was, being questioned, in front of them, and questioning was coming up, and he even spoke a little bit to this. And problem being is that the status quo is not going to work. Okay. So if you voted for somebody because you think that they're going to not touch your Social Security, I don't want to be mean, but I hope you're not intending to live that much longer, because if we don't do something soon, your benefit will not be what it is today. Because in a very simple sense, as Matt eloquently said, you're going to have the FICA money coming in every year. All right. Because now you'd have no other excess reserves. The money come in, but you have 35, 40 cents more needed if everyone was to continue the benefit that they were going to receive. All right. Don't think there's an easy solution to this is, they'll just raise taxes. Okay. We're not talking small amounts of money here. We're talking massive amounts of money.
Well, and to add to the problem, Rob, too, there's actually a legal law that prohibits the government from funding Social Security outside of tax dollars.
Okay.
So without that, they, like you said, they got to do something besides just raise taxes.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. And the alternative is to print money. What is printing money? Printing money is issuing treasury bills, notes, and bonds. All right. You get to a point where you need to immediately come up with massive amounts of money, like a shortfall within Social Security. There's a very good chance that you will fail at auction. What is an auction? An auction is when the government goes out and borrows money through bills, notes, or bonds. Somebody doesn't want to buy them, or they're going to require significantly higher interest to be paid to lend. I think the big issue is the first one, that you're not going to have enough people willing to lend. So that being said, as much as most of today was about how to maximize my benefit, I do want to make sure that there's no confusion as to where this country currently lies around some of the programs like Social Security and Medicare. I'm going to have something which I'm sure at least half of the audience is going to hate me at them, maybe even more. But I want to talk a little bit about what Social Security initially was. Matt, when Social Security initially came out, how would you define it? I don't care. I'm going to tell my opinion after. What do you think Social Security is?
For me, you would either say it was a supplement or it was something there for those that couldn't save for their retirement.
Okay. And I would say it was put in place to protect those who just live too long. And here's what I mean by that. So it's not the way he defined it. That's not what? Okay. When Social Security was first enacted, the FRA, or the full retirement age, was 62. The life expectancy of an American was like 62 and 2 months. Okay?
Pretty sweet deal for
All
that.
right. So pretty much everybody that paid into it got nothing out of it. All right? So literally, as you said, it brings together what I defined it as and as you defined it out. But really, when it came down to, there's going to be certain people that weren't going to have enough money, no money, they have no savings, or they were going to have limited savings of which they required a supplement. So living too long is what Social Security is going to support. Now, FRA is 67, okay? And what did you say? Living is
somewhere around like
79 to 82
something like that.
is about life expectancy. Yeah. So people are getting upwards of 13, 14, 15 years of a benefit from Social Security. Inevitably, the pot was going to go bare. So didn't want to leave you on such a difficult note. Hopefully, that all being said, there are ways, and I absolutely strongly believe that before you make decisions on Social Security, you should run some of the math. So whether it's our guest today or our organization, if we can provide you any type of insight or you have questions, we'll certainly provide you with some contact information. So I thank you so much for taking your limited and precious free time with us today, or not so free if you are multitasking, as I'm sure many of you are. This is Rob Kostick, your host of Money Talks
With the Wealth Whisperer.
Until next time. For all podcast or guest-related questions, please email us at dlacadvisors@dlacadvisors.com. For all questions or inquiries into the services that are provided by DLAC Wealth Advisors, please contact us at elliot.singer@dlacadvisors.com. That's Elliot with 2 T's. Please also visit our description for helpful links.